All right. Welcome. Today is day 9 of Bible in 90 Days, or What's in the Bible, where we're reading through the whole Bible just to get an idea of the whole story of what the Bible talks about. So it's more like a daily summary, really, of the chapters that we read on a daily basis. So obviously we're doing it in 90 days, which is about 3 months, a manageable chunk, really, to be able to get through the entire Bible. So we started off with Genesis, we went into Exodus, then now we're in Leviticus. So today we actually finish off Leviticus before we get into the book of Numbers. So all the other videos for day 1 up until today, they're already on the YouTube page or on the Facebook page, so you can you can take a look at those. So we jump straight in. Leviticus 15 to 27 today. 27 is the last chapter of Leviticus. So Leviticus 15 talks about some ritual laws for bodily discharges. Straight into Leviticus 16, where Aaron, the high priest, is making an offering to atone for the sons of Israel. So he would start with himself and atone for himself for his sins, because he was a human being. So he would kill a bull, and that would take care of his sins. Then he would go ahead and sacrifice 2 goats. So one goat would be killed, and this blood would be used as the atonement. Then the other goat, he would he would say and confess all the sins of Israel upon that goat. Then they would send it into the wilderness, and that was also called a scapegoat. So maybe that's where the word scapegoat actually comes from. This was also only done once a year, this day of atonement. We get into Leviticus 17, which talks about laws around presenting, slaughtered livestock at the tabernacle, and some rules for burnt offerings. There's also this reiteration that they should not eat the blood, because the blood was where the significance was, and it is by the blood that this atonement actually happened. Verse 11, particularly in chapter 17, says, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you for making atonement for your lives on the altar. For as life, it is the blood that makes the atonement." So it is the blood, the shedding of the blood of these animals that would take away the sins. So they were also told there about eating things that have died of themselves. Talking about blood, I suppose it's relevant now today, because in this week alone in America, a lot of blood was shed, whether it's innocent black men or innocent police officers, or blood being shed everywhere in the world. Just reading through this, even as we're still in the in the Old Testament, from the get-go, from the murder of Abel by Cain, we've always been told that life is sacred. So we should try whatever we can, not to shed blood, because God is the one that gives life, and He's the only one that can take life. So our prayers are with the innocent police men that were killed, as well as the innocent black men, and every other innocent person, to be honest, that is being killed anywhere in the world. Leviticus chapter 18 talks about laws around sexuality, sexual immorality, sexual purity, and how serious these laws where we get a commentary that said that sexual immorality was rife in Egypt, where they were coming from, and in Canaan, where they were going to be going. And God said this sexual immorality is what defiled or made the land dirty, which then caused the land to vomit, these people out. We get to Leviticus 19. We see various laws around relating with other people, things like harvests, peace offerings, immigrants. Actually, immigrants are talked about in Leviticus 19. Respect for the elderly, and all these are the civil and moral laws. But all of this is always dragging us back to loving God and loving people. So all these laws, you could just try and look at them as trying to help the Israelites love God and love people and do unto others as they would be done by. We then get to Leviticus chapter 20, where we see laws around worshipping and sacrificing to other gods, that it was a no-no, and a bunch of other moral laws. Verse 22 is an important verse, because it says it was important to follow these laws so that the land would not vomit them out, as just we have said in Leviticus 18, that their holiness, or them following the commandments of God, would almost make sure that the land would not throw them out and keep them there. And it carries on this theme that sin is equal to death. Sin is equal to death. This is why anytime a sin was committed, either somebody died or an animal had to die in the place of that human being. We get to Leviticus chapter 20, laws around mourning when the relatives of priests died. We also see it talks about the kind of people that priests could marry, and we also get some information that not all of Aaron's sons could serve in the tabernacle or do the priestly duties. There was only certain kind of people that could do it. Leviticus 22, we see laws around the things offered to God, who could eat of it. Reiteration that the things offered to God should be without blemish and perfect, and also a warning, or maybe a reminder to the priests that how they would treat their priestly duties would affect how the Israelites would view God. And that's the same for every leader everywhere, that how you treat your office has a bearing on how people that look up to you see whatever it is, or whatever office that you represent. Or if you are a religious leader, the way you handle your office, handle yourself, handle your affairs, kind of affects how people look at you. Leviticus 23, God talks about laws around festivals, including the Sabbath, the Passover, the first fruits, the Day of Atonement, the Festival of Booths or Tabernacles, and the Festival of the Lord, where people will just go before God and rejoice. Leviticus 24, it talks about the oil of the lamp that was in the tabernacle was supposed to be kept burning, the holy bread that could be eaten by Aaron and his descendants only, and the story, we actually get a little story there of a young man who blasphemed or said something about the name of God, and he had to be stoned. And this is where we get the popular laws about life for life, tooth for tooth, etc., which are the same laws that Jesus came to kind of shed some more light on when he was on the earth. Leviticus 25 talks about the Sabbaths for the land. So as there was a Sabbath, as in God created the world in 6 days and he rested on the seventh, the Israelites were expected to do the same thing, to rest on the seventh day. But he was also saying when you get to the promised land, the land is supposed to have a rest every 7 years. So you do whatever you have to do for 6 years, but in the seventh year, do not till the land and do not do anything to the land, so that the land itself can rest. We also see stuff about the Jubilee, which was after 7 Sabbaths, i.e. 7 weeks of weeks they called them, which is 49 years. There was something that was called a Jubilee, where there would be release of property, release of debts, etc. So every 50 years there was something called a Jubilee, where people would just say, okay, if you had a debt, it's been 50 years, now it's cancelled. We then also see laws for servants and hired labor, and stuff about slaves in there, and things of rights of redemption. If somebody had sold themselves into slavery, how they could redeem themselves out of that situation. Leviticus 26, we then get to the blessings for obedience. So now that all these laws that would be being given to Moses on Mount Sinai, God then says, okay, these are the blessings that will follow you if you obey the things that I'm saying, and these are the curses for disobedience. But even with the curses for disobedience, God says there would always be an opportunity to repent and return to God, because he would always be there, to make sure that they could come back to him. And he also says because of the covenant with Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, he would never make a complete end of all the Israelites because of that covenant. Leviticus 27, we get rules around valuations and redemption rights, as well as rules about the tithes of the land. And that is the end of Leviticus. And tomorrow we get into Numbers, which we then get to see some more story in the continuation. So as we said, Leviticus is basically just laws. Levi was the forefather of the Levites that became the priests. So Leviticus is kind of themed around all the laws that the Israelites were given in order to follow. But again, I will stress that most of the stuff that we see in here, except for some of the the moral laws, the civil stuff, the ceremonial stuff, the rituals, the washings, etc., who could serve, who could not serve, it was done away with the new covenant, which is the New Testament, that we will see when we get to the New Testament. However, the historical information, it's good for us to know that background so that we can have a better understanding of what Jesus meant, or what Jesus did do. So we can learn from it. And the new covenant today is what is now in force. And I only know this not because what I'm reading is not convenient for me. I only know it because when we get further on in the story, we get this we get this information. So yeah, tomorrow we are in Numbers, which will be day 10. so excited that already we're covering a lot of ground, beginning to see the history of the Israelites, how Moses played a part, and obviously this covenant, this Mosaic law that was a huge part of the Israelites life. So I hope you're enjoying it. Please share the video with your friends. Any feedback, suggestions, questions, feel free to to send those to me, and I will see you guys tomorrow.